Good day, class. This is Attorney Season. Welcome to Human Rights Education. So today, I'll be discussing the history, theories of sources, and development of human rights. So let's start. So please listen and take down notes. So number one, what is the origin of human rights? So human rights arose from the struggle of man against injustices of despotic rulers. Injustices in the sense that there's a violation of a right or violation of the rights of another individual, okay, of despotic rulers or a ruler who is cruel and exploits people and uses power in an uncontrolled manner. That's why dagang human rights violation. One good example is North Korean leader Kim Jong-un can be considered as a despotic ruler because he is a ruler who is cruel and exploits people and uses his power in an uncontrolled manner. And in history, examples of despotic rulers are Hitler and Stalin. Okay, sila, si Hitler, di ba? Mga genocide, mga, dagan kayong mga human rights violations. So men revolted against the concept of the divine right of kings. What do you mean by divine right of kings? So under this popular doctrine, right, divine right of kings pertains to a defense which asserted that kings derive their authority from God. Okay? Gikan ni God bilang authority. And therefore, they could not be held accountable for their actions by any earthly authority, such as a parliament. Okay? So divine right of kings is more of like a defense na gamiton sa mga kings na gikan daw ni God ilang authority, therefore any violations na ilang makomit, especially human rights violations, dili sila accountable. Why? Because their authority came from God. Okay? So they could not therefore be accountable for their actions by an earthly authority, such as a government or a parliament. And also, in the Middle Ages, the Magna Carta, otherwise known as the English Great Charter, was delivered by King John in 1215. The Magna Carta, okay, for board exam purposes, is regarded as the first English constitution. Again, the Magna Carta is regarded as the first English constitution that guaranteed the personal liberties and civil rights of the people. So what's the difference between personal liberties and civil rights? So in personal liberties or civil liberties, they are limitations placed on the government. Okay? Sa gobyerno, limitations placed on the government. Kato ning mga things nga dili pwede i-violate sa government. Okay? Because they may interfere with the personal freedoms of the people, such as our freedom of speech and our freedom of religion. And in civil rights, these rights limits on the power of majorities, the people, to make decisions that would benefit some but not others, such as the right to vote. Okay? Natay right mo vote sa atong kanahan, BBM pa ta, Lenny. Okay? And also the right to a fair trial in court. Okay, that's civil rights. So let's continue. So the Americans revolting against the English king. Revolting meaning they renounce allegiance to the English king in 1776, declared their own Bill of Rights in our Bill of Rights. And so on the French in 1789 proclaimed the Declaration of the Rights of Man. Declaration of the Rights of Man, where it was declared that all men are born free and equal, and affirmed the inalienable rights of man. Okay? So eventually, most democratic countries like the Philippines adopted in their respective constitutions their own Bill of Rights. That's why in our present constitution, the 1987 constitution, we have Bill of Rights. Okay? So number two, name and explain some of the theories advanced as the sources of human rights. So number one, we have the religious or the theological approach. So this pertains to the doctrine of a supreme being, the creator, the father of all humanity. Central is the concept of the dignity of man as a consequence of human rights. And therefore, the rights are universal, inalienable, and can be denied by mortal beings. Okay? Mga tao. So, a basis of human rights theory, religious or theological approach, is a basis of human rights theory stemming from a law higher than the state and whose source is the supreme being, God. So human rights are not concessions granted by human institutions such as a state or any international organization, as they are God-given rights. So wala na i-grant, kanang atong human rights, wala na i-grant by any human institution like the government or international organizations because they are God-given rights. Okay? This is according to the religious or theological approach. Okay? Second, we have the natural law. So, under the natural law, the conduct of man must always conform to the law of nature. And this theory is detached from religion. The natural characteristics of human beings are the social impulse to live peacefully and harmony with others, and whatever conformed to the nature of man was right and just, and whatever disturbing to social harmony is wrong and unjust. So it perceives, natural law perceives that the conduct of man must always conform to the law of nature, and this natural law became the basis of the natural rights of man against oppressive or tyrannical rulers. Right? And during the Nuremberg trials, the rationale for finding the Nazis guilty, okay, the crimes committed were offenses against humanity, and there is no need of a law penalizing such act. Okay? So, katong Nuremberg trial, gi-based to itong mga Nazis, gi-based to ilang decision sa atong natural law. Okay? Because the crimes they have committed were offenses against the humanity, like mass murder, genocide, war crimes. And because of that, there is no need of a law penalizing the act. Diba, in our criminal law, dapat there is no crime if there is no law punishing it. Or nullum crimen nulla penitentia nihil. But because this natural law, okay, na found guilty ang mga Nazis. Okay, because the crimes they have committed were offenses against humanity, and being an offense against humanity, no, there is no need of a law penalizing such act. Okay, so positivist letter C. This states that all rights and authority come from the state, the government, and what officials have promulgated, like the legislature, in mga laws, promulgate. And the rights are enjoyed if recognized and protected by legislation, okay? The legislature promulgated by the state. So the source of human rights is to be found only in the enactment of a law with sanctions attached. And according to this theory positivist, a right is enjoyed only if it is recognized and protected by legislation, by a law, okay, promulgated by the state. Okay, so it is the legislature who makes the laws in our country, composed of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Marxist. So Marxist, this emphasizes the interest of society over an individual's interest. So this is known as communism. Okay. So communism is based on the goal of eliminating socio-economic class struggles by what? By creating a classless society. Ano siya goal dyan sa communism? To create a classless society in which everyone shares the benefits of labor and the state. Ang state mo yung mag-control sa tanang property and wealth. Notable examples of communist regimes throughout history include the former Soviet Union, and then the communist China, Cuba, and North Korea. Okay, mga communist countries na sila. Next, the E. We have here the functional or sociological approach. So, under this approach, human rights exist as a means of social control only. Okay? And that human rights exist to serve the social interest of society. This approach was developed in the early 20th century when there were demands for a variety of wants, such as help for the unemployed, the handicapped, the underprivileged, the minorities, and other disadvantaged groups. So under this approach lays emphasis on obtaining a just equilibrium of multifarious interest among prevailing moral sentiments and the social economic conditions of the time and place. Okay, and then we have the utilitarian theory. So this is a principle that requires governments to maximize the total net sums of citizens. It emphasizes that the individual cannot be more important than the entire group. An act is good only when it takes into consideration the interest of the society and tends to augment the happiness of the entire community. So this theory seeks to define the notion of rights in terms of tendencies to promote specified ends such as the common good. Ito na siya, basta utilitarian theory. And every human decision must be motivated by some calculation of pleasure and pain. And the main goal yun sa utilitarian theory is to promote the greatest happiness of the greatest number. Okay? So theory based on justice. So under this theory, each person has equal rights to the whole system of liberties. The general conception of justice is one of fairness, and those social primary goods such as the opportunity, the income, wealth, and self-respect are to be distributed equally. So this is the theory based on justice. Each person has equal rights. And then last we have the theory based on equality and respect. So this means that the government must treat all their citizens equally and the government must intervene in order to advance the general welfare. The recognition of individual rights in the enjoyment of basic freedoms such as freedom of speech, religion, assembly, fair trial, okay, etc. And access to courts, okay, rather. And lastly, the theory based on the dignity of man. So the ultimate goal of this theory is a world community where there is the democratic sharing and distribution of values, and that all available resources are utilized to the maximum, and the protection of human dignity is recognized. So, therefore, this theory proceeds on the premise that human rights means sharing values and all identified policies upon which human rights depends on. Okay, so this is the theory based on dignity. What are the circumstances that brought out the concept of human rights in ancient history? So rulers were despotic or having unlimited power of the people and using such power unfairly and cruelly, okay? And tyrannical, meaning exercising power in a cruel or arbitrary way. And the citizens rose against the injustices that they have long suffered. Okay, so that is why I'm going to say concept of human rights in ancient history. Fourth, uh, what famous documents in history that contain the concepts of human rights? Briefly discuss each in these documents. So, of course, number one, we have the Magna Carta of 1215, otherwise known as the First English Constitution, delivered by King John. And this Magna Carta, or the Great Charter, guaranteed personal liberties and civil rights. So personal liberties or civil liberties, itong mga limitations placed on the government pertains to things the government can't do because they may interfere with the personal freedoms of the people. Examples, freedom of speech or freedom of religion. And when we talk about civil rights, this guarantees equal citizenship, such as our right to vote and our right to a fair trial, because it limits the power of the majorities or the people to make decisions that would benefit some but not others. Letter B, we have Bill of Rights of 1689. So revolutionaries of England determined to prevent arbitrary royal rule laid this down. So this document guaranteed freedom from cruel and unusual punishment and excessive fines. Okay? And naapon siya sa atong constitution, freedom from cruel and unusual punishment and excessive fines. Okay, so gi-adapt ni nato. And Bill of Rights of 1776. So Americans revolting from the English. So this document asserted that all men by nature are fully free and independent and have inherent rights, okay, and such as enjoyment of life and liberty, and the means of acquiring possessing properties, and of course this world. And then last we have the Declaration of Rights of Man. 1789 by the French revolutionaries. So this document declared that all men are born free, okay, and equal, and affirmed the inalienable rights of man. Inalienable in the sense that it can't be sold, okay, or it cannot be taken away. So number five, explain why human rights became an international concern. So the struggle for the respect of human rights was initially a domestic or national issue within the country around the but the atrocities committed on mass of people during World War II, like war crimes, mga torture, mga mass murders, it convinced international jurists, okay, that the protection of human rights should be an international concern. So that is why from a domestic or national concern, nimo siyang international concern. It became an international concern. Okay? So number six, how was human rights or how were human rights introduced in the Philippines? Okay? So first, human rights was introduced to the Philippines when Jose Rizal wrote about the abuses of these Spaniards in his books, and because of that, diba, he was executed. So since 1896, the educated Filipinos were already aware of the American and English Bill of Rights, and therefore the Malolos Constitution was adopted in 1899. It contained the provisions that guaranteed freedom from arbitrary arrest and detention, freedom from searches and seizures, freedom to choose domicile, and freedom of religion. And all of this, makita na siya sa atong Bill of Rights. Okay, if you could still remember. Okay? So, in 1899, the Malolos Constitution is considered as the first Philippine Constitution, the first Republican Constitution in Asia. And the Constitution specifically provides for safeguards from abuses and enumerated the national and individual rights, not only of the Filipinos, right, and of the aliens also. So next, number seven. So what historical events in the Philippines prompted Filipinos to protect and promote human rights? Okay, number one is the Spanish regime, the colonial Spanish regime. Diba? Prone magutog mga abuses sa una. That's why si Rizal, he wrote about the abuses of the Spanish authorities in his books. And because of that, he was executed. And then in 1942 to 1944, diba, he invaded Japan. So that's why during this time military rule of Japan. And lastly, of course, martial law of President Marcos. Some would say, daghan daw abuses sa una. Okay, human rights violations, etc. Okay, under the Marcos administration. But for partisan purposes, um, at exactly 7:17 p.m. on September 23, 1972, President Ferdinand Marcos announced that he had placed the entirety of the Philippines under martial law. Again, at 7:17 p.m. on September 23, 1972, President Marcos placed the entire Philippines under martial law through Proclamation number 1081. Okay? Which was dated September 21, 1972. Okay? So for bird exam purposes, kabalo mo sa istorya na martial law. Okay? Next, we have the Philippine Commission on Human Rights. So, in Article 2, Section 11 of the Constitution, it reads, the state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights. What do you mean by this? So it means that human rights are the primary responsibility of the state of the Republic of the Philippines. And every agency of the government, such as the PNP, DOH, DepEd, has the obligation of ensuring na gi-respect na nga mga rights. Okay? So that is why because of this section na atay PNP that protects the right to life, liberty, and property of the citizens. And then we have the Department of Health to protect the rights of health, the right to health. We have the SS and GSIS to protect our right to social security. The DepEd to protect our right to education. And the DOLE to protect our right to labor and employment. Okay? May meaning yun na the state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights. Again, meaning the human rights, okay, or respecting human rights is the primary responsibility of the state or the Republic of the Philippines. And every agency of the government has the obligation of ensuring that our human rights is respected. Okay? So I hope that the Philippine National Police will protect our rights. Okay? And I will right to life, liberty, and property. Okay? So to implement this policy, the Commission on Human Rights was created. Okay? So natay ito nga Philippine Commission on Human Rights. And it was created as a constitutional independent body under Article 13, Section 17, 18 of the Philippine Constitution. And the Commission of Human Rights, or PCHR, the Philippine Commission of Human Rights, is considered as the watchdog. They monitor, they advocate, and they are the educator of the government. Okay? So, because of the CHR, because of the creation of the CHR, or the Commission of Human Rights, this resulted to a substantial decrease of number of violations among law enforcement, okay, in human rights. But there is still much to be done. Okay? Again pa. So next we have the last number 9. State and explain the constitutional policy of Philippines on human rights. So, pareha lang. So, the new constitution, the present constitution, or the 1987 constitution states that the state values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect of human rights. Again, atong human rights is the primary responsibility of our government or the state. And every agency of the government, such as the PNP, DOH, SS, DepEd, and many more, has the obligation of ensuring, okay, that our rights will be respected. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day.